Most people don't realize it, but they're living on autopilot, repeating the same problems over and over without understanding why. Carl Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." In other words, what looks like bad luck, failed relationships, or financial instability is often just the result of unconscious patterns playing out beneath the surface. These patterns come from early childhood experiences, shaping beliefs about money, success, love, and self-worth. And until confronted, they'll keep running the show. Think about someone who always ends up in toxic relationships. They might blame fate, but in reality, they're unconsciously seeking out the same emotional wounds they never resolved. Maybe they grew up in a home where love felt unstable, so they now associate emotional intimacy with unpredictability. The same applies to money struggles. Someone raised in an environment of scarcity may self-sabotage financial opportunities because success feels unsafe. These patterns don't just happen. They're programmed responses from an unconscious mind stuck in survival mode. The real challenge is breaking free, but you can't change what you refuse to see. If your life feels like a loop, struggles with motivation, recurring failures, self-sabotage in relationships or career, then it's time to step back and examine the hidden beliefs, fears, and suppressed emotions driving these cycles. The first step? Awareness. Once you recognize these patterns, you can start to deconstruct them. But understanding is only half the battle. The real work begins when you start uncovering how these patterns show up in your daily life. Unconscious patterns don't just exist in theory. You see them everywhere, shaping relationships, money, and success in ways most people never notice. Take emotional disconnection, for example. Someone who struggles with emotional intimacy might not realize they're pushing people away. Maybe they grew up in a home where emotions weren't openly expressed, so now, as an adult, vulnerability feels unsafe. They might attract partners who are emotionally unavailable or sabotage good relationships without understanding why. To them, it just feels like bad luck, but it's really just an unconscious script playing out. The same thing happens with financial struggles. A person raised in a household that constantly worried about money might develop a scarcity mindset, always fearing they'll never have enough. Even when they start making more, they may self-sabotage by overspending, avoiding financial planning, or feeling guilty about success. Deep down, they associate wealth with something negative, maybe greed, loss, or instability. Their childhood experiences created a pattern where financial instability feels normal, and breaking free from it requires a conscious effort to rewrite those beliefs. And then there's fear of success, one of the most overlooked forms of self-sabotage. Some people hesitate to step into opportunities not because they lack talent, but because they fear the consequences of standing out. Maybe they grew up in an environment where success brought envy, rejection, or high expectations they couldn't meet. So, instead of embracing their potential, they procrastinate, make excuses, or quit right before things take off. These recurring themes aren't random. They're clues pointing back to the unresolved wounds, fears, and beliefs running the show. The good news? Once you see the pattern, you can start to break it. But that requires diving into the one thing most people avoid: the shadow. Most people think they know themselves until they start facing their shadow. Carl Jung described the shadow as the hidden part of our unconscious mind, the side we suppress because it doesn't align with the identity we've built. But here's the thing: ignoring the shadow doesn't make it disappear. It controls your thoughts, emotions, and decisions from the background, creating self-sabotage, procrastination, toxic relationships, and deep-seated fears. The only way to stop these patterns is through shadow work, the process of confronting and integrating the suppressed parts of yourself. A good place to start is by recognizing recurring themes in your life. What patterns keep repeating? What triggers an intense reaction in you? Dreams also hold clues. Jung believed they reveal suppressed fears, wounds, and unresolved traumas. If you keep having dreams about being chased, failing, or being abandoned, your subconscious is trying to tell you something. Journaling can help uncover these patterns. Write down your biggest frustrations in life and ask, how am I contributing to this? It's uncomfortable, but self-honesty is the only way to stop running in circles. Shadow work isn't just about understanding yourself. It's about integration. It's about accepting your flaws, fears, and insecurities instead of pretending they don't exist. If you struggle with motivation, success, or relationships, chances are your shadow is playing a role. Maybe you avoid conflict because, deep down, you fear rejection. Maybe you resist success because you associate it with guilt. Once you start bringing these patterns into the light, they lose their control over you. But confronting the unconscious isn't easy. It requires deep self-awareness, and most importantly, the courage to take responsibility for your life. Breaking free from destructive cycles starts with radical self-honesty. Most people avoid this step because it forces them to confront the uncomfortable truth. They're the common denominator in their problems, struggles, and stagnation. That doesn't mean blame, it means responsibility. If you're constantly dealing with the same setbacks in money, relationships, or personal growth, the real question isn't, why does this keep happening to me? But rather, how am I allowing this to continue? Owning your patterns is the first step toward changing them. One powerful method for breaking these cycles is embracing resistance instead of avoiding it. When you feel fear, shame, or discomfort around something, success, emotional intimacy, financial growth, it's a sign of where the work needs to be done. People who fear failure avoid risks. People who fear rejection stay emotionally closed off. But resistance is a compass, pointing directly at the beliefs that need to be rewired. If fear is stopping you, lean into it. Have the conversation you're avoiding. Apply for the opportunity you think you're not ready for. Watch how your patterns shift when you stop running from them. Taking responsibility also means confronting the subconscious beliefs shaping your decisions. If you struggle with money, ask yourself, what did I learn about wealth growing up? If you keep ending up in toxic relationships, reflect on what love looked like in your childhood. Reprogramming these beliefs isn't instant, but it starts with awareness and small, intentional changes. Challenge the story you've been telling yourself. Break one habit that reinforces your old pattern. When you begin to make even small shifts, you'll start to experience something most people never do: real transformation. Once you become conscious of your unconscious patterns, everything changes. No more blaming fate. No more feeling stuck in endless struggles. You realize that you have the power to rewrite your life narrative. Self-awareness is the key that unlocks transformation. But it's not just about understanding your wounds. It's about reprogramming the way you respond to life. The past may have shaped you, but it doesn't have to define you. You can choose to let go of self-sabotage, fear, and unconscious beliefs that no longer serve you. The only question is, will you? True transformation happens when you stop seeing your problems as obstacles and start seeing them as opportunities for growth. Every recurring theme in your life is a lesson waiting to be learned. Instead of avoiding discomfort, ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Doing the shadow work, embracing uncomfortable truths, and breaking old patterns isn't easy, but it's the price of freedom. People who master their unconscious mind don't live on autopilot anymore. They create their own fate. So, what's the next step? Take action. If you've recognized your patterns, start making small, intentional changes. If you struggle with money, relationships, or motivation, start questioning the beliefs that hold you back. Take responsibility, embrace discomfort, and rewrite your identity. The power to change has always been yours. You just have to wake up to it. Because once you truly see the unconscious forces shaping your life, you'll never go back to who you used to be. The truth is, breaking free isn't easy, but neither is staying stuck. It takes radical self-honesty, confronting your beliefs, fears, and suppressed emotions, and choosing to rewrite your own story. What's one pattern in your life that you now realize needs to change? Drop it in the comments, because once you acknowledge it, you've already taken the first step toward transformation.